the men coming from the shore, the sea, right, the changing society forever. I thought that was so well done and such a great moment from Nolan that, to my mind, that almost puts the film above a 7 right off the bat.
The reality of what it would have been like to be inside the Trojan horse was also very claustrophobic, very frightening.
Very visceral.
It was, it was evocative,
Spoiler alerts. We thought you were the people at the sea. No, we're Greeks, And it's like, oh wait, but they are.
Having this perception of an external enemy or an external problem and coming to the realization that it's you.
Yeah. Hi, welcome to Cloud of Witnesses. Jeremiah here. We're really excited about this episode. This episode is created with you in mind. Please, if you're enjoying this content, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and most importantly, if you can, ring that bell. It does help others find this content as well. Cloud of Witnesses is all about making Christian content that is hopefully edifying to you and is building up the kingdom of God. Please stick around to the end if you can. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy. You mentioned the relationship between Odysseus and Penelope. I thought that one of the most beautiful and poignant moments of this film is the juxtaposition of the siren song. That moment, which I thought was very well done. Odysseus doesn't plug his ears. He hears the sirens, and it was so well put in the film. I forget the exact wording, but it was, he heard everything a man would ever want to hear, and also all the things a man can never hear or doesn't want to hear, something like that. Mario pointed it out so well. Towards the end of the film, when Odysseus is about to be reunited to his wife, who has waited 20 years faithfully for him, the same theme, the musical score that was during the moments of the sirens, comes back up, and you get this very powerful reminder of all those things a man wants to hear. Here's his beautiful wife who's waited for him for 20 years, and also all the things he can't or doesn't want to hear, which is the men that he's lost, the death, the suffering, the betrayals, all these things, right? The men coming from the shore, the sea, right? The changing society forever. I thought that was so well done and such a great moment from Nolan that, to my mind, that almost puts the film above a 7 right off the bat. What were your guys' thoughts in terms of some of the hallmarks of the film? What are some of the moments of the film that you're still holding on to right now that you're like, man, this was a moment in the film for me?
I agree with you on that was one of the most emotional moments where I felt moved in that conversation, where he was explaining, and even kind of how Calypso mentions that he held on to that,
that's right.
That pin from his wife the whole time, and he wouldn't let that go. And even when he was shipwrecked, that's one thing he wouldn't let go. It held him to the end, right? The coming home element. And then when he finally comes home and he has that conversation where it was very emotional. That scene was done very well.
Amen.
The part that really got me was the dog. When he comes home and only the dog recognizes him and, is wagging his tail, and then his son that was the moment that it clicked for him. I thought that was done very well as well. The reality of what it would have been like to be inside the Trojan horse was also very claustrophobic, very frightening,
very visceral.
It was, it was evocative, like how awful it would have been to be in there, and even, how heavy it is and probably sunk in the sand, and people were drowning in there. Like, it must have been dreadful. So that touch of when they all finally come down from the horse and they're kind of their feet are wobbly, they haven't, I thought that was a very good touch.
Absolutely.
The invasion of Troy was done stunningly, and his contrast of they have the dark armor, the Trojans have the light armor, and what that's visually communicating. I think those are Nolan's strong points. that visual storytelling, the way he can use lighting, he can use color contrast, he can use what you see as a story, or that's definitely some of his strengths. And
Absolutely.
I think it does
slow motion, the music.
it elevates the quality of the story 100%.
Yeah.
Even the lightning on the ship, when it was like the shipwreck was happening, and you can like it was all very like it brings you into that moment and has you feeling what those people are feeling because you're so disoriented, and he does a very good job with that.
He really did.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts, again, spoiler alert, throughout the whole film, they're so concerned about the people from the sea. They're coming around, they're going to destroy civilization. Everything we know is going to collapse because of these people out there. And then when Odysseus, who's still disguised, is talking to his wife and explaining what they did in Troy, just violating, trust and this deception that they pulled on them. And he's realizing that because of that decision he made has led to all of these other consequences. And she says, oh, you're the people from the sea. I really like that idea that we've talked about several times on the podcast before of having this perception of an external enemy or an external problem and coming to the realization that it's you.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important message. And I thought that scene was really good.
Yeah. Mario? Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of that because I feel like that was very much a Christopher Nolan insert. Mm-hmm. That when you read the book, you'll find it doesn't align with Greek thought.
Yeah.
They don't have any guilt about war.
Yeah.
Because to them, that war was justified, in a way, because Odysseus has to stand by his choice as a king because he made it so that he can come home. If he wouldn't have aligned himself with Agamemnon, then they would have came to Ithaca next after Troy.
Sure.
And so his decision to go was so that he could have a home to come back to. And
that was a compromise.
And that was a compromise.
Anyways,
And I think everyone would even appreciate that compromise after he does return home. And he returns home triumphantly. No doubt broken, but triumphantly and reordered with the gods. When you take that element away, you have to have some kind of, what was his growth? His growth was Oppenheimer's growth. It was Dunkirk's growth. It's every film that Christopher Nolan has done, like for the last few years, Jeff pointed this out. I'm like, that's so true. It's the,
learning that we are the enemy.
That we found the enemy and the enemy is me, right?
Yeah.
Which is, it's not the Odyssey story. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it very much aligns with modern sentiments, but it changed the spark of the story.
Sure.
So that it has that like Count of Monte Cristo is one of those great stories of like coming home and having revenge on the people who ruined your life. Odysseus is better because of the gods' involvement in all of that. The gods justified his retribution, so that it wasn't revenge, it was retribution, it was justice, and it was divine justice, and he was a harbinger of that. But that was determined because of the gods' involvement in the cosmic order of things. He had to realign himself to that cosmic order, remove the cosmic order, remove a real moral sense of justice, and I feel like you get where you are now, and it's like, well, how is any war justified? Is any nation supposed to stand for anything? And I feel like Nolan is inserting that where Homer, I don't think, did.
I kind of like that aspect of his movies, though. Like, and you see it whether it's the Odyssey or Batman, where the hero he's kind of conflicted. Like, there's real tension and grit, like within the hero himself.
The reluctant hero.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. Because to me, that's just more reflective of reality. Like, we don't have people, even if we see them as a hero historically, it wasn't that they were just all good. It wasn't that they were like, perfect. But they have like this internal conflict and these tensions of like, well, I had to do this in Troy for, to save Ithaca. but also understanding like the things we did in Troy were horrible. You know, like war is terrible. It had to be done, but it's also this terrible thing that happened. And so he's like has this internal tension that he's dealing with. That's the part that I like about his movies is like there's just like a grit to it that is missing in a lot of other movies where it's just like the hero is just ideal. He's perfect. He's like everybody wants to be just like him. And I think I like Nolan's movies where it just kind of brings it into reality a little bit more.
That's interesting. Peter Jackson did the same thing with Aragorn. The Aragorn of the book is much more an Odysseus type character. He is this emblematic, noble. C.S. Lewis talks about this. It's why we love fairy tale, right? It's why we love myth, because he says, this is C.S. Lewis, he says, in myth, the characters wear their morality on the outside. In other words, when you see Aragorn, you see nobility, right? You see truth and honesty and bravery, right? As an ideal, almost like Plato's ideals, right? Whereas in a Nolan-esque, in a more modern story, in a Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, the character is struggling with what we struggle with in the real world, right? It's a good point. I think both are valid and useful, but it is important to notice they are very different things. I do want to hear Mario's favorite part of the film.
Well, I would say I'm on this kind of the same as Mike. Like, I love that they were the people at the sea, and actually watching it the second time, they hinted it all throughout the movie. Like, even in the first village, they come and pillage. Spoiler alerts. We thought you were the people at the sea. No, we're Greeks. And it's like, oh wait, but they are. And it's constantly being hinted at until the very end when you kind of get told that by Odysseus, Penelope. So that was probably my favorite part. Because I think we all do have that internal struggle, or we think like, oh, they're the problem, they're the problem, they're the problem. Really, it's me.
And that comes back to the divine, right? The grand story. And we talked about this when I countered you, James. I said, is it eisegesis? When we realized that we are all part of the grand story, right? We are part of the divine story here and now. And Homer's Odyssey is part of that. Look at that, you made it to the end. Remember, all of our Patreons enjoy early access to episodes as well as uncut, unedited versions, including this episode here. You can go see the full thing over on our Patreon right now. It is the best way to support Cloud of Witnesses. It helps us keep the lights on, keeps the cameras rolling, and we thank you so much for being here right now. Please share with friends and family. We hope to see you on the next one. God bless you, and bye-bye.